Okay, so you're locked up and you're heading to trial because you don't agree to a plea deal, which is a crazy situation because, once again, 98% conviction rate. Now, do you originally have a lawyer?
Yeah. Had Don Etra, who was on the short list to be the United States attorney, had gone to college with Bush, who was president at the time, and had just become president, um, the second one. And, he was old, though. He's passed away, so I don't really want to say anything bad about him, but he was older, and he was certainly past his prime at this point. And he unfortunately, I suffered a conviction.
How did it feel? Because you're like, what, 32 years old at the time? So basically your whole life would have to get redone in a jail cell based on this conviction.
Yeah, it's, there was, the worst part is hearing, when I got sentenced to 30 years, was hearing the sound that my mom made. I still hear it. Like I can hear it like it was yesterday. It was, like just, it's not something any son would ever want to hear come out of their mother. Like the wail, the sound, it was very animalistic. It was, and I was very arrogant and I was very angry and I screamed. It was reported in LA Times, actually, that, I told the judge, I was like, this was bullshit. I'll be back on appeal. I'll see you next year.
Well, you try to appeal, but you actually lost, and it was like a double jeopardy appeal?
Yeah, so now I got the second case, right?
Yeah.
CCE. So I appealed double jeopardy because I said, why should I have a second case? Like,
Same
it's the
thing.
same shit.
Yeah.
And, they brought in this ringer, Al Desert, from, not even from the Ninth Circuit. He ends up writing the opinion. Conspiracy, no conspiracy. The dude, he basically, if you look at the government's brief and then you look at the appellate opinion, they basically just cut and pasted, including all the mistakes that were in the government's brief, that we'd clearly shown them. And they basically said that one conspiracy ended in December of 99 when they arrested Mike and found the storage units and followed these girls, Sonia McDaniels and Amina Jackson, who were stealing, and they set off the trigger. So the cops bust them in the parking lot of a mall on the way back from Riverside out by the 10 freeway. They agree to continue and deliver the stuff to Mike, who they worked for. They go to Mike's building. They raid that place. They end up finding John, who lives across the street, Tamer's cousin. They raid that place. Tamer's cousin, when there's money, when they're at the door, throws fucking 400 grand down to fucking Al Mayman's place. Balcony. There's cops outside. They see it. Now they go into that place also. This is all in the worship corridor. And me and Tamer, late night, are sitting there watching this from my balcony because I live right across the street from Sterling Towers, where Tamer was out on Beverly Glen in Wilshire. I'm literally at this building, Utah Royale, and we're sitting on my balcony watching all this go down, smoking weed, smoking joints, right? And watching him tow out the cars and everything. And, Al, they get to his house, fucking genius. He's got a book that How to Hide Your Assets, right? And in the back of the book, in the extra pages in the back of the book, he wrote down all his foreign bank account numbers. So the feds fucking get all this, another fucking genius, right? And this dude, Monir Deary, genius that he was, and this was really the key to their case, how they got it off the chart, because my PSR came back at 360 to 1,640 months, was he had storage under a fake name, but he kept the receipts. And storage units back then were like $15, $10. Like, what are you keeping the receipts for? So the feds find the storages, and they find, a bunch of Tamer's pills, over 1 million pills there. But what they also find is all the boxes with all the FedEx labels from the last year and a half. And they all have the weights and the dates and they basically, that gave them the case and the drug weight and everything else. Because after us, they changed it to 35 times the marijuana scale. Before us, it was 1 million pills. We wouldn't have gotten anywhere near that kind of time if that's all they found. But because they were able to add up everything, right, into the conspiracy, because they had all these FedEx labels, they were able to push us off the chart. And the reason why I ended up with 30 years was because each individual count that I was charged with only carried 20 years. So there was a rule in place at that time. If you have to stack the counts to reach the guideline range, then you have to get the minimum of the guideline. So the judge had no choice. Even though he wanted to give me 1640, he gave me 360.
Well, you said something interesting. You said you spent millions of dollars on private lawyers, but you said in Fed cases, public defenders are actually the better choice.
Yes.
Why?
So if you pick up a Fed case right now, right, like you said, 98% conviction rate. Mm-hmm. The reason why it's a better choice is you're going to get your discovery for free. You're going to see if you have a case or if they have you dead bang. So just that, and 98% of the time they've got you dead bang because the feds don't come unless they got you, right? So 98% of the time, you're better off just because you still have your lawyer money in your pocket. Now, if you're one of those 2% where you really have action, because this whole idea of getting a high power attorney that they're scared of where they make a better plea, that's bullshit. That's just total fucking bullshit. But let's say that that's the case, right? Well, now you're in. You've seen other dudes get sentenced. If you see somebody who had a lawyer perform really well, well, now you still got your lawyer money. You can hire that dude. But trying to guess one on the street with no personal experience or from street references, you're never, it's like I tell people all the time, when you get a speeding ticket or DUI or whatever, they're like, everybody wants a high power attorney. And I'm like, no, you don't. You want the dude that stalks the hallways at that fucking court every day. He knows every fucking clerk. He knows everybody. He knows when people are taking vacations. You want the mechanic.
Okay.
That really, I mean, you want the mechanic. I tell people, anybody who gets, my friends get a DUI or reckless driving or whatever, and they ask me, I go, bro, do yourself a favor. Go to court with no one, and you're going to find there's going to be lawyers stalking the halls trying to fucking drum up business. Those dudes are there every day.
Yeah, I remember we had this interview with Big Meech from prison, and he basically said exactly that, because him and his brother, Southwest T, both had, I think, CCE charges.
Yeah.
And he spent millions on lawyers. Drew Finling was one of his lawyers, I believe. And Southwest T ended up with just a public defender, and they both accepted a 25-year plea deal. He said, in retrospect, I should have just saved my money.
Yeah. Yeah, you should have saved your money. And then also, I think more important than a lawyer is having been through a trial and then representing myself in the CCE. I can say this, more important than a lawyer, if you have any kind of brain, is a jury selection specialist.
So those are really effective.
Don't know if they're really, I'm saying better than a lawyer in federal court. Jury selection specialist, but coupled with a mock jury. You're going to pay 12 people to sit in that courtroom as if they're the jury. They're not going to know that they're working for you. And your lawyer or your private investigator, whoever you get to set this up, right, has to be able to interact with them without letting them know that they're working for the defense.
They could so be you have a working fake for jury guy, and you're basically polling them to see how they would vote.
To see what's
okay.
To me, that's a much better use of $100,000 than a lawyer.
Interesting.